Guys, after UFC 321, I think I've come to a conclusion that I already was starting to draw even before this over the years, over the different champions of the, passing of hands. I think I see that I think Dana White just hates heavyweights. And the reason why I'm gonna say that, I'll give you some reasons, and I'll show you the reasons why in detail with videos backing it. But if you even recall the last couple champions, it's been a rocky road. And now I'm seeing signs that that rocky road may be beginning to start for Tom Aspinall, and his reign as champion is really so fresh. And we're already seeing Dana White throwing out, semi negative publicity on Tom Aspinall's names, which is very strange because, heavyweight has always been the story division of combat sports in boxing. You look at eras, you look at, the 2010s, the biggest star that was selling out stadiums was Anthony Joshua, heavyweight. I mean, Canelo as well. But Anthony Joshua didn't even have to get the level of accomplishment that Canelo had or the level that like a Terrence Crawford has had, that he finally gets to fight in a stadium at 38 years old after becoming undisputed at 3 divisions. It took all that for Terrence Crawford, a smaller guy, to finally be able to fight in a big, massive stadium versus Anthony Joshua was fighting in stadiums in his 20s. Anthony Joshua was selling out Wembley Stadium in his 20s because the way that the boxing structure props up these heavyweights, it just makes them, if you've got a little bit of the it factor, you're just going to be a super star, and they're going to put the rocket in your back to shoot you to, levels of star that you might not even deserve yet, which we saw in reality. Josh was taking a couple losses. He's still a respected heavyweight. He's not currently a champion, but guess what? He still can sell out damn near any arena in the world, any stadium. He's selling out. And that's because the stature and the promotion that they put behind heavyweights puts them at a level that when people see a heavyweight fight is coming to town, they are lined up to get tickets. Look at every era. Like I said, Joshua, who was the 90s, Tyson, or no, 90s, 80s. Before that, Ali, Joe Louis. The biggest name in boxing is almost always a heavyweight. Fury had a little time too. Usyk right now. I know Usyk is, some people would not say that he's the most marketable, but he's doing very well for himself, even as a guy that came up from the lower division and became a heavyweight. But these massive 6'6", heavyweights that could never fight in another division, the way that these guys are hyped up and the way that these guys are sold by the promoters makes these heavyweights untouchable, and the casual audience just jump out of their seats when they see the heavyweight championship is on the line. And that just never has crossed over to UFC. The biggest stars in the UFC history have been smaller guys. The most popular heavyweight, as far as name value or pay-per-view draw, probably would be Brock Lesnar, who came into the UFC already a celebrity who had built a name in other fields. It's not like the UFC built him into a star. He came over already a star. So there's never been a homegrown heavyweight that just becomes a A-list celebrity just off the fact he's the UFC heavyweight champion. And I think a big reason to that is the last 4, at least, heavyweight champions, and even more than those 4, dating all the way back to Randy Couture, have had issues and been at odds with the promotion. And when I say the promotion, I mean the UFC. And when I say the UFC, I mean AKA Dana White and Dana White's ego. Gets in the way of so many heavyweight champions. And I don't know what it is. Some people may say that, Dana shits on all his fighters at every weight class, but it seems like he becomes at odds with heavyweights a lot more frequently than other divisions. And this week for Tom Aspinall is showing that rocky road might be on the way. Here's the first clip I'm going to show you guys. Here's Dana White reacting to the fight. His heavyweight champion that you want to build up as untouchable. Would you ever hear Eddie Hearn talking about Anthony Joshua in this way? And I think that's kind of the conflict of interest when the UFC is both the promoter and the matchmaker. Because in boxing, when you're the promoter, but you're not the matchmaker, you're not the one, that controls the title, you're not the one that controls the sanctioning bodies, you're just the promoter. So you can focus on hyping your guy up and making the public love your guy just as much as you think that they should. When Dana White is the promoter and also the sanctioning body and also the president of the UFC who holds a belt, this is a conflict of interest because you think he's a promoter, but then wait, he's kind of shitting on his guys. A boxing promoter would never do this. Even when Anthony Joshua gets knocked out, Eddie Hearn's still hyping him up. But this is the first sign that I've seen. Dana White on his heavyweight champion losing the first round, getting poked in the eye, and then the fight ending kind of unceremoniously. But this is what he had to say.
But he was sleeping on Cyril Gane.
Not looking forward to hey, we're looking for the rematch. Tom was having a rough first round, but he's our champion. We're looking to see what he can do next. No, this is what he says. He keeps it real, which some people may like, but as a promoter, it kind of stifles how far your heavyweights can go. Let's see.
I said earlier, because of the John Jones fight, I think everybody was sleeping on Cyril Gane and sort of wrote him off. But I feel like, I'm sure in his camp, he was training like a animal for this fight, and it's unfortunate that it ended the way that it did. And yes, I think that there probably will be a lot more interest in the rematch after they saw, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. So the rematch is very interesting.
Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. Some could say that's just reality. He's just keeping it real, but that's just not the way a promoter talks about someone he's supposed to be promoting that's holding his belt. But as I said, the conflict of interest brings, weird things that you wouldn't see in other sports. Now let's see why I'm saying that this may be the beginning of a conflict. This alone maybe might not be much, but, and you see I commented here, Dana White has beef with the last 4 heavyweight champions. And someone said his beef with heavyweight champions has gone on since he's been in the business. Let's look at some more reasons why I think. Now, first thing, he gets poked in the eye. Dana White says he doesn't want to continue. Isn't really speaking about him in a glowing fashion in the post-fight interview. And here's the second reason why I think Dana White's disdain for Tom Aspinall may be growing. Here's what Tom Aspinall's dad said during this fight.
You said that you wanted a boxing champion.
Yeah, for sure.
You're okay with an MMA champion, but you wanted a boxing champion.
Boxing for sure. The money is
More money.
Yeah, more money. Why not?
We know how much Dana hates anyone speaking on pay.
Would that be an outcome for him? No.
There's 3 more fights on the contract now.
Okay. So,
And I don't want to sign a new contract.
okay.
Personally.
So you said that.
His father, who's in his corner, who's right there next to him every time he's at the fights, says the money in boxing is way more. He has 3 fights left in the UFC, and I don't want him to re-sign. Sure, Dana loved hearing that. Let's hear another one. What's another thing Dana White hates? When guys are loyal to their friends. Look what he did to Aljamain. Look how long Merab had to wait.
He's already said that the guy that's currently ranked number 10 is his friend, Ante Delija. And he would vacate the title if Delija got to a point where he was going to fight for the title.
He's one of my genuine friends. I would never. I'll vacate it and he can have his time.
Fair. Really?
I wouldn't fight him. No chance. And then money.
I hate that, many friends, relatives, name it, have all fought each other before. It doesn't determine whether you are friends with somebody or you hate somebody. You're competing against them to see who the best is, but that's his decision. If he defends.
So Dana says these are like, if you watch Dana White over the years, these are like some of the pinpoint things he hates the most. One, when guys will not fight their friends. Two, when guys bring up fighter pay or bring up wanting to maybe express interest in other organizations. Remember Francis? Yeah. And here's another one.
Rather retire a little bit early than a little bit late, personally, because I'm starting to see friends of mine now who've retired and they're having like lifelong issues with the health and stuff because of fighting. And
now you hear this. Aspinall says he'd rather retire early instead of risking long-term damage, which is a smart thing to say, a smart logic to have, but we know this is something Dana White has always had a problem with. He always tells guys, if you're even talking about retirement, well, shit, just go retire. Why are you bringing up retirement? He gets pissed off when guys bring up retirement. He gets pissed off when guys bring up money. He gets pissed off when guys refuse to fight their friends. And apparently now he gets pissed off when guys get poked in the eye and quit. As some people say what you want. But Dana White says he did not want to continue. Let's look at even back since Randy Couture. Some of y'all younger fans, do y'all even know who Randy Couture is? You probably don't, because the UFC never brings him up, never puts him in promotional packages, never speaks about him when they're talking about the greatest heavyweights of all time, never speak about him when they're talking about 2 division champions. Basically has been scratched from history. This is a light heavyweight and heavyweight champion. What does he say? When is this article from? 2022. Randy Couture. Couture versus White. We were at odds right from the start. In 2001, he was at odds with a heavyweight champion. Let's think of another one. Stipe Miocic spills the truth about turbulent relationship with boss Dana White. And it's so crazy. The lineage of the belt went Stipe, who actually a large source of his disdain with Dana was the fact that Dana was glazing Francis so hard when they were about to fight. Stipe finally beats Francis, gives a big fuck you to Dana. Francis comes back in the rematch, beats him, becomes the champion, was the guy that everyone was hyping up, and then he becomes the champion, and Dana beefs with Francis. Now Dana hates Francis even more than Stipe. And how often do you see any of these guys? How often do you see Randy Couture in promotional packages? How often do you see Stipe Miocic in promotional packages? How often do you see Francis Ngannou brought up at all by the UFC? Since Stipe retired, has he been shown anywhere? Has he been brought up in any heavyweight discussions? Have you seen anything about Stipe? I'm sure he'll go into the Hall of Fame, but after he goes into the Hall of Fame and after they have that weekend with him, if he even shows up, he seems like the type of guy that might not even show up. After they have that weekend, how much do you think you'll see Stipe promoted or brought up or, honored by the UFC? 5 years after he's retired, do you think they're going to speak about Stipe at all when there's a big heavyweight fight coming up and they're talking about the greatest heavyweights? Do you think they're even going to bring up Stipe, show his highlights at all? You think they're going to bring up they're already scratching Francis from history. They're already saying a guy that just signed to the UFC is the first Cameroonian to fight in the UFC, just pretending he doesn't exist. Randy Couture, I ain't seen nothing about him on a broadcast in 10 years. Francis Ngannou is maybe the most hated guy from Dana. I think he's the one that Dana would publicly shit on the most. And Dana hyping him was the exact source that made Stipe turn back on him. Look, remember this? Y'all remember this one?
Seem a little fired up. One thing that a lot of people noticed was that you took the title from Dana and you handed it to the coach and had him wrap it around your waist. Can you explain the thought process there?
My dude. That dude respects me, I respect him. End of story.
Seem a little fired up.
Respect. Wants his respect. And this is the exact conflict of interest when a promoter is also the sanctioning body is also the holder of the belt. Guys feel like, you're my fucking promoter. Why aren't you promoting me? Why aren't you respecting me? Why are you throwing dirt on my name? You're the guy that's supposed to be promoting me. But then Dana is also the sanctioning body, the guy that makes the fights, the guy that holds the belts. So he's gonna also shit on you to bring you back down. He's the one negotiating your contract, and he's your promoter. That's where the conflict of interest comes into hand. And this is why I say Dana White hates heavyweights. And let's not even talk about John Jones' brief stint at heavyweight. Everyone said that John Jones is the most glazed person by Dana White. Dana White gets on his knees for John Jones. Anytime John Jones is able to be glazed, Dana White will take the opportunity. Well, look at what happened. There was a time he had beef with John Jones over money after the Reyes fight. We got to remember that. And then after he becomes the heavyweight champion, he doesn't want to fight Tom. He retires, and then he claims he wants to come back, and Dana is doing the best he can to prevent him from coming back, to downgrade him in the media, to tell he's unreliable, to say he's not a guy you can trust to main event a card. I'm not putting him on the White House card. If it's up to me, I'm not really feeling the Jones-Pereira fight. I don't want to reward him. These are things he's saying about his GOAT. The guy he calls the GOAT. That's the last four heavyweight champions. Tom Aspinall, John Jones, Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou. All publicly feuded with Dana White. Except for Aspinall, but it feels like it's in the works. So let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment, drop a like. Let me know what you think. Let me know why you think Dana White specifically seems to come at his heavyweights so much and doesn't build them up. The baddest man on the planet. You hear that more in boxing than almost with UFC. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Peace out. Have a good night. Rough weekend for Aspinall. Hopefully he can make it up going soon. Peace.